All right, ladies and gents, we're finally back for the John X Mike podcast. Post-manager, it is John X Fire here, joined by the slightly sick Mike LaPhoenix. Mike, how you doing?
I'm very sick, Jonathan. You've kind of already said it. I've had a very, very bad couple of days, as you may have noticed, Jonathan. A lot of things happened. I've been sick. Somebody apparently hit my parked car yesterday in a quiet suburban area. I don't know how I'm going to get very upset telling that story, Jonathan. We'll leave that one for later. The point is I've been a little bit sick, but I'm happy to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. You know, coming back from Stockholm, getting used to the heat again is really disappointing. I mean, you know, being back home is always great, but man, is it hot. Man, do I miss that weather in Stockholm. Do I miss the 10 p.m. sunsets, dude? I miss Stockholm. It was great. I miss seeing you every day, Mike. It was actually super fun. You know, it's kind of boring being back home now, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you, right? Like it felt super weird. I getting over the jet lag after like I don't know how many days it took to get over that damn jet lag coming back, and it just felt very boring when you came back because it was you and I guess this is going to be a bit of a major recap podcast for anyone out there wondering. I suppose we never really got to talk about it, but it felt so good. I was telling my wife about this. It felt so good being able to just work all day. You know, in something that you feel passionate about and you love, right? You and I, we enjoy the Dota scene very much, and obviously the work was very fun for us. And we were working pretty much all day because you and I were doing our own content on the side. So even if we finished the series we were meant to do, we went and did more, podcasts and fucking interviews and shit like that, and it was great. And then you come home, and it's like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what are we doing? You know, and then I got sick, and I was meant to take my wife out for dinner and, tell her about everything that happened in Sweden, but that never happened because I got the old influenza. I don't know. It has been rather life after major. This is what they call this post tournament depression, right?
Yeah.
Where you just don't feel good afterwards. It's been really damn boring.
It is. It's just going back to reality, not having any Dota games to really cast, taking the time to supposedly refresh. But for you, it hasn't been much of a refresh. I mean, DPC's next week, Mike. Are we going to be in shape for that? Or do you think that flu is going to be sticking for a bit? Like, geez.
No, I've got to also warn the people watching right now that there might be times, like very close to right now, where I'm going to have to mute my mic and walk off screen for a bit because, I'm probably going to be coughing my lungs out. So do excuse me if you see me randomly walk off for 10, 15 seconds. I'm having it's that part of the sickness, John, where you're coughing your lungs out and things are flying out of your mouth. So I'd rather that not be caught on camera. Still, though, we should talk about the major, John. I mean, I'll ask you first. Overall, I mean, how was your major experience? Like, first LAN, you got to meet me. It was I imagine that was the highlight of your life. But apart from that, Jonathan, how was your first major experience?
It was amazing. It was amazing, start to finish. Just a great experience. It was great to see a lot of people for the first time. Great to see you, of course, for the first time. That goes without saying. But meeting all the faces who also work in Dota, it was great. Everyone's really friendly. So for my story, it was a bit weird, right? Because I think everyone knew this, but I flew in 2 days late. We were all supposed to arrive around the same time. I was 2 days late because my visa was late, right? So I land in. I'm the only one to go off the plane. There's Michael, our driver, was waiting there, and that was like 2 p.m. Stockholm time. I arrive at 2:30 p.m. and I meet Michael. We have a conversation, go onto the van, and we head straight to the studio, right? So from landing, straight to studio, no hotel, no rest, straight to the studio. And it was funny because I was talking to Michael and he was like, oh, it's usually not that traffic. It's going to be like, 40 minutes a drive from the airport into the studio. It took us almost an hour and a half. There were like 3 road accidents that came out. I got to see the Stockholm police. I got to see the Stockholm fire department ambulance system. I just missed the fire truck. So I saw all the emergency services because of all the traffic. And then yeah, so we arrived into the studio around 4, right? And we were due to cast around 5. And that's when I first saw you. The timing was insane. The van pulls up. I see you going in with Richie. And like, you know, you start looking at the van. I'm like waving through the glass and popping the van door open. And you turn around, and that was a great time. Like, I didn't feel tired at all. You know, that's off the back of, I think, a 12-hour flight from Manila to Istanbul, an hour and a half flight from my city to Manila, and then a 4-hour flight from Istanbul to Stockholm. And I wasn't tired at all. You know, after that, met you, had a great big bear hug. Richie has that video. We still have to ask him for it because we're gonna have that edited down. But we had that, and then straight to casting. It was such a great first day. I don't think I would have. I think I actually do prefer that first day over, you know, meeting you casually and having like a day of rehearsal and break. I think I enjoyed just being thrown into it. It was a lot more fun.
It was good, wasn't it, Joe? I mean, it all kind of worked out. And going back to that point as well, I suppose I may as well go straight into this. Because before you came along, because you did have visa issues, so you were late. The first day without you was a very interesting experience, right? Because casting was, you know, perfectly fine. I can't remember who I was casting with. I think I was casting with Fly at one point. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was Fly the whole time. I can't really remember. And then I got thrown on the panel just randomly, right? They decided, oh, let's throw this guy on the panel. And, you know, paneling is something I've never been good at. So I was like, all right, I'm a bit nervous about it. I'll give it my best shot. Yeah. And unlike every other panel where they had the host plus 2 people, I was kind of added on as a third analyst per se, right? So it was, I believe it was Pyrian Flax was the one hosting it. And then you had me, Lacoste, and Jenkins, right? And there was this really awkward moment where I remember, and some people will remember this, it was quite cringy actually, where we basically cut to Slacks and he was doing some interview segment or whatever, right? Some funny piece. And then the problem was my innie, the audio that I can hear from Slacks wasn't working. So basically what happened was everyone on the panel could hear what Slacks was saying and they were having a great laugh about it. Meanwhile, I was sitting there and I had no fucking idea what Slacks was saying, right? I was trying to lip read what he was saying, but there was a bit of a delay and you get my point, right? I couldn't understand what he was saying. So he ends up making a pony joke, right? He ends up directing a pony joke at me. And I haven't looked back at the clip yet, but apparently I looked very upset at the time. Now, mind you, I couldn't fucking hear anything, right? So I'm sitting there like I'm just waiting for the segment to be over because I can't hear anything. And they're just making these pony jokes, and then Jenkins makes another joke about, you know, I thought the P standard for something else being, you know, penis, right? I couldn't hear a thing. So I'm sitting there just looking like really upset. And I remember going back for a moment and the chat was saying, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? Just, you know, have a laugh. You look really stiff and stuff. For the record, for anyone that remembers, I just couldn't hear a thing. So I had no idea what they were talking about. And that was a really awkward start for me to the major because people were saying straight away, he's not comfortable without John X Fire being there. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. While I would love to have John here with me, obviously I would love John to be here. It wasn't because John wasn't there that I wasn't comfortable. I literally couldn't hear anything. And naturally, while I'm on the panel, Jonathan, I can't go ahead and say to people, hey guys, just FYI, the reason why I didn't joke around with Slacks is because I couldn't fucking hear him because we're live on the panel, right? But yeah, that was a very interesting start. Mind you, the production team, they fixed it very quickly. I mean, probably my fault for not kind of mentioning it earlier. But for anyone out there wondering why I looked so stiff and upset that day, that was because I literally couldn't hear a thing. Remember that time you and I casted and I was deaf?
Yes.
Because both my ears were infected?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like, but it was so much harder because I wasn't used to paneling with them. I was used to casting with you, right?
Yeah.
So that was my start. I mean, if we're talking about first days, John, I mean, the casting went well, but then we went on the panel and I just looked like a complete moron the whole time because again, the in-ear piece wasn't working. So what can you do? Talk to me about the rest of the major though, Jonathan. I mean, as the major went on, I think you and I, you know, judging by the feedback we received, we were doing a pretty good job according to the other people that worked with us and community members, just people watching. How did you feel like everything went?
I think it went great. You know, I enjoyed our time. I feel like we casted well. It's interesting because you and I have been casting online remotely. Heck, even right now, right? This is remote. And for you and I, it's like that slight delay doesn't exist anymore, right? It's like we're right
Yeah.
next to each other for the most part. So for me, it was it was so much easier to be able to see you, right? You know, I'd turn to you while you're doing your play-by-play, you'd look back and we'd bounce off each other a lot more. But at the same time, it feels like this is something we've already closely achieved online. So it was like taking it to the next step, but that step was just like, you know, it's a lot less than you'd expect because we're used to it, you know. So I was really happy with the casting. We had fun on the event. Arena Day was really fun. So we still had our passes, you know, we still had these passes, right? So we'd go towards the back areas. We'd still get catering, save a lot on food. You know, head down to catering. We'd
Don't you worry, John. All those stories about you being a tight ass, trust me, they're going to come out at some point during the podcast, during the cast. It's come. We've got a lot of stories, Jonathan.
Dude, yeah, so on that topic, just for a bit. Remember, so you know, there's a lot of food, right? Like there's a lot of snacks around the area, and no one was getting them. So I figured I have a better use for these things. I take a couple here and there. Apparently, I didn't bring enough. So there you go, Mike. I didn't
bring
take enough. No, it's not
Who
enough.
said that?
My family did. They saw. I loaded. I
my
placed it all
God.
on the table. And I spread it all on the table, and they're like, "That's not enough," you know, because we're sharing it with family, friends, you know, and stuff. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I actually."
Well, hold on,
have
let's
to pull the
premise this for the
suitcase.
viewers. So, just for John already mentioned there was snacks at the event, right? So, what John decided was a great idea because he reckons it's a Filipino cultural thing that I
Yes.
wouldn't understand.
Yes.
He decided he would bring his backpack in every day. Now, mind you, he did ask for permission, so he wasn't stealing because he was given permission to do this. But he would walk into the studio, and there was different rooms with different snacks, different Swedish snacks. But there was a
Yes,
large
yes.
variety. Shout out to
Yes.
ESL, they took care of the talent, right?
Oh yes.
So John, what he would do is he'd take his backpack and he'd make sure it was borderline empty. And he'd just pile in these snacks every day. Without a doubt, he'd fill up his backpack all the damn way with
yeah.
different snacks and just walk out of the studio, go back to the hotel. He'd unload his bag, right? He'd sort them out on his little table. He'd go back the next day. He'd do it all over again. I am convinced, John X5, that you took more snacks than you spent on spending money in Sweden for the 2 weeks. I am convinced of that. Like
I wish
you took
it's
so
not
much
not
shit.
enough. Not enough. I have a picture right here. You can see how much I actually brought back. This is
No,
this
you
is
took
the
more
amount.
than that.
This is
You
it.
took
This is
way
it.
more than that.
This is actually it. It looked a lot, but this is it in the end, and it was just not enough. It was just not enough. So I need to next time around, you know, ESL, you got to be ready. Johnny's coming in. hey, to be fair, Moxie defended me here. She said it's an Asian thing, right? And
Sure.
you know, a few other talent, not gonna throw names, but a few other talent do it too. So I'm not alone there, Mike. This is just a smart play, all right?
You know what the other talent don't do, Jonathan?
What?
I mean, we may as well go into it while we're on the topic. This is how far John X5's Filipino cultural differences go. He comes into my... This is the first time he's come into my hotel room, right? We had different hotel rooms at the time. And he comes into my hotel room, and I think... What was I doing? I was getting something for my room. We were going to go down to the bar to have some drinks, right? This guy literally looks over... And you know how hotel rooms, they have like tea and coffee and sugar satchels and all, and like milk and stuff? He literally starts loading that shit into his bag. He took my tea, he took my damn sugar, he took everything he could, apart from the coffee apparently, because coffee's cheap enough in the Philippines, so it's not worthwhile for you. You know, God forbid you have too much baggage, right?
Hey, it was just Nescafe, you know, it wasn't fancy stuff. Just Nescafe Gold. It's like, all right, leave that.
So this guy, the first time he walks into my room, he takes all my tea and all my sugar. And then he does that every day from that point on. He will literally walk to my room and take all the tea that's been added by the staff there. And I guess the staff looking at me must have thought, man, this guy drinks a lot of fucking tea. Like, this guy, you know, he's a tea drinker, this guy. Drinking 10 packets of tea a day. And John would just take them every night without a doubt. He just like, I'm taking these home. It's great. I'm saving money. It wasn't only that, John. I mean, if we can take it a step further, this is where you did start borderline stealing, because we were doing a scuffed podcast in the conference room, in a random conference room in the hotel, right? We haven't booked it in. We just walked in. We're like, screw it. We're going to do a podcast right here. That was the second podcast where we had Bulba show up. We had Pal. We had Zach. There was a lot of people. Gary was there everyone was there, right?
Yeah.
And after the event, we're packing up. You know, after the podcast, we're packing up, and I notice, because I'm sitting there, right? There's like these pieces of paper and these pens, and they're all messed up because everyone was, you know, just messing up the table. So I go and start fixing up all the notepads and the pens. John X Fire, while I'm fixing them, he's taking each individual pen and throwing it into his bag. And I go, John, what are you taking the pens for? And he goes, they're free pens. They're they're damn good pens.
Yeah, they have
like,
the Marriott sign, you know? It's like, yeah, I can show my parents here, have a Marriott pen.
So this piece of shit, as I'm fixing the damn notepads and the pens, he's just taking them. He's taking all my work that I've put in, all the work I've put into this damn table to make it look nice. He's just taking everything. So all the Marriott pens from the Marriott Hotel back in Stockholm, my apologies, John X Fire has all the pens now.
Yeah.
He's got them all.
I took him. Now, to be fair, I did help the Marriott folk, you know, the front desk with their internet, right? Because we couldn't log in. And I replicated that issue with their phones. So like, all right, let's find out. I gave them the IP gateway. So, you know, I gave them something back, Mike. I deserve those pens, all right?
It was just terrifying. Just witnessing
hey,
it.
At least I didn't get the pads. I only got the pens, all right? See?
Yeah.
See?
You only got the pens. It's the thing though. Like every time John will do something, it's a cultural difference that I couldn't possibly understand. It's just a cultural difference.
It is.
Yeah, I'm taking the tea. It's a cultural difference. You know,
dude, I used to do that a lot. So in Singapore. In university, you know, every time there'd be like NTU pens, my university, I'd grab them. We'd stay at like Marina Bay, you know, the pens of Marina Bay. Hey, we stayed at Marina Bay Sands, gotta have those pens.
It's incredible. It really was. That was, I think, for me, when I met you, that was the most eye-opening thing. Because I just didn't realize how far you took the money-saving thing. It's incredible.
That's how we do it, man. That's just. It really is the Asian way. Maybe it's really Filipino, I guess, but that's what we do, you know. Because it's like it's a little token that you stayed in this hotel. You've got proof. I stayed in the Marriott. I stayed in Marina Bay. You know, it's like the pen's the easiest thing. And you always need a pen, Mike. So it's good.
Yeah.
It came in handy. Well. Not really. I didn't need to sign anything, but you know, it's useful to have, Mike.
I, ironically enough, needed a pen, and I was thinking about you taking all the pens because on the plane ride home, it turns out we needed to fill some form in about, you know, whatever, like what we're bringing back into Australia because, you know, God forbid we bring too many packets of cigarettes or something because, you know, our government doesn't like, you know, people don't paying tax. So I needed a pen and I didn't get one on the plane, so I had to wait till I got back into the airport. And I was thinking about you the whole time. Like I could have taken one of those damn pens.
You could have taken. I had several pens. You could have taken one, but nah, you didn't. I mean, okay, this is a good segue. The funny thing is, the last time we saw each other was funny because we boarded two separate vans that were 15-minute apart towards the airport. Yeah. We didn't have a proper goodbye because we thought we'd see each other at the airport. I go in, I'm walking with Cinderin and with Lacoste, and you know we're splitting up to our gates. I see you while I'm walking towards my counter, and you guys were in a long fucking line. And then I saw the security line up, and I was like, that's a long, bloody long line. And the last time we saw each other was just, hey, I'll see you at the airport. And that's it. It's like, oh, fuck. Yeah, it's like, we never got to say goodbye. That was funny and kind of sad. But, you know, those lines were nightmarish.
Yeah, well, the thing was, we got kind of screwed over because it turns out going back to Australia, you need to prove that you're vaccinated against COVID, which is weird. Well, it was just weird, right? Because we left the country without being tested at all. And then on the way back, they were like, oh, you have to prove to us that you're vaccinated. And luckily, I had my, I don't know what you call it, vaccination certificate on my phone at the time, so I could prove it. But had I not had that, I would have just been kind of sitting there in line, probably missing my flight. You know, it was lucky it was just sitting in my email at the time and I could just pull it out. But a couple of the talent were having issues getting back on the plane because we just couldn't some of them couldn't prove it. You know, like we're waiting in line. It's a high pressure situation, and we couldn't quite prove that we were vaccinated. So there's that. Apart from that, though, going back to the major, John, man, I don't know where I want to start because a lot of things happened. There was a lot of eye-opening experiences. Suppose we should say straight off the bat that everyone was super fucking nice, by the way. I think that was the one. Another eye-opening thing for me was I always thought, you know, like, even though talent, you know, in Dota, I think talent are quite close, right? And they, you know, obviously when you're working a show, you've got to be able to work with each other. But there's always this open conversation that happens where every cast is in direct competition with each other, right? Even if you're friends and you have to be polite to each other and work with each other to make the show nice. In some way, you are competing, right? To be the best one there, to be able to get finals, main events, or whatever. And so you kind of go in with this expectation, especially for you and I, because we've been grinding for so long. You go in with this expectation that people aren't going to be as nice as they were, because again, in some way they are competing with you. But I've got to say, all the talent were like stupidly friendly. Like they were very welcoming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everyone is a joy to work with. Give me a sec here, Mike, because it looks like our server is acting up. I'm going to switch us over to Singapore. And that should sort it. Hello, Mikey. Hello.
Hello, John.
All right,
Hello.
that should fix it. I'm hoping. It looks like the lines are acting up again, Mike. It's always
it's probably me this time. Believe it or not, it's actually me this.
All right, fair enough. Singapore is not helping too much. Let me actually switch it back to Hong Kong. This is slightly worse, which is funny because Singapore is supposed to be closer, but you know, sometimes it is what it is. So we're back to Hong Kong. Let me just save that there. Let me see. Wait for it. All right, we're back to Hong Kong. Should hold steady, hopefully. But yeah, so all the talent was great to work with. Everyone was really easy to talk to. Everyone's super happy to talk with us there. I know you weren't, so this is a little bit funny because so the after party came and you had to call the wifey, right? Like you were out for, God, it felt like you were out for an art and you just bailed. And I was just there. I was hanging out with Jabs the entire time, right? Poor Jabs was left alone. Sunbee's talking to a person of interest that entire evening, right? So he was all alone, and it was literally just Jabs and me. So, you know, we went to grab food. This was on the last night, obviously, but, you know, we just sitting down eating food, and, you know, all the talent just start pouring in and start chatting. They're very approachable, very friendly, and it's super fun to talk to. Like, I do wish we'd see each other again because it's just nice hanging out. You know, it's just nice to be able to be with people who are also passionate about the game. That's the one thing, right? Like when you're in a major, when you're in a LAN, it's a gathering of people who love the game. So obviously you're more than likely all going to get along because you've got this one great connection, and it's something that I miss. Yeah, I mean, it was fun, like just in that after party, right? Like it ended up like they just naturally flow to you, and there's no barriers, there's no nothing like that. It's just really approachable. They're just people, you know?
Well, that's why I was surprised, right? Because they don't need to do that. You know, like it's not a necessity. If anything, I feel like when you're the new talent, you're the one who's under pressure to introduce yourself to people. But that's what kind of caught me off guard, is that they were very open to approaching us and kind of making us feel welcome rather than us trying to fit in, it was very good, is what I'm trying to say. It was a very eye-opening experience. I suppose I don't expect much less from Dota talent because, you know, greatest game in the world. You know, you'd expect the talent to be the best in the world, and we are, but fucking, you know, it still catches you off guard. It really does. Pleasure to work with as well, those guys, right? Like very, very professional. Oh yeah, I want to say everyone is like everyone's very laid back. Everyone has a laugh. Everyone backs each other up, but they're also very professional. Like when it's time to work, you get to work. Yep. You know, no messing around.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first day we were dragged on panel last minute with Lacoste and Shiva or Pyrian, and it was super comfy with Pyrian and Lacoste, right? You and I were on panel for that last series on day 2 or day 3. And it was super easy. Lacoste and Pyrian made it super easy to flow with. It's my first time on panel. You know,
oh yeah.
I don't know what the hell I'm saying half the time, and Lacoste is just there to back it up. It's super easy, and they made it really easy and really fun to work with. So, you know, again, hopefully we see each other soon, because I'd love that. It's just great.
Well, obviously, we're going to try and aim to get to the next major. You know, that is obviously if we get invited. But we're hoping. You know, we're hopefully going to reach out to the boys at PGL, see what they reckon. But yeah, anyway, the experience was fantastic for anyone wondering. I want to go into a bit more in depth on something though. This is something that I thought about a long time ago, and I talked to you about, but we never really talked about it publicly so much. The crowd effect, John, right? I've always said this. You can back me up here because I've said it to you many times, but I think the crowd is so influential when it comes to teams winning games, right?
Yes.
Not in the sense that they're cheating by, you know, screaming when the other team's doing Roshan or something. It's not that kind of crowd, but obviously the OG is what I'm trying to say. And their fans, OG fans are ridiculous, right? And everyone loves these guys. So no matter who they're against, OG fans are just going to be loud. And I want to bring you back to that game they had against Fnatic. You and I were sitting there in the arena watching this game. Fnatic were 21-1. That was the scoreline in Fnatic's favor, 21-1. And I remember OG had a team fight where they got 2 kills. It went like 23-3 or some shit. It was like an even team fight. And they got 2 kills, and they were like nothing kills. There was support kills or some crap. This crowd went fucking ballistic.
Oh yeah.
Right? And from that point on, OG just had a fire behind. They had a flame under their asses. You know, they just started going.
Yep.
And after that, after they beat Fnatic in a series they really shouldn't have won.
Yep.
Somehow they just go ahead and make a lower bracket run and win the whole thing.
Yep.
I just don't. The amount that the crowd has impact on these games is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Because I think you hear the crowd roaring every time you make a play. You just get that, you know, the goosebumps kick in, the adrenaline kicks in, you're feeling good, the team's smiling, and then suddenly you're going to make a comeback. And it feels like OG just has the craziest fucking fan base where that'll happen every time.
Oh yeah.
If they get given the chance.
Oh yeah.
And I think what I'm trying to say, John, the point I'm trying to make is what I'm so happy about is this time we're going to have TI in Singapore, right? Now, in my opinion, SEA fans are the least biased fans in the world.
Yes.
Right? I know there's going to be some idiot that argues with me. Go back and watch the SEA tournaments, compare them to EU, China, NA, whatever you want. SEA fans cheer for everyone.
Yes.
Right? But they do cheer harder for SEA teams, which
of course.
It's standard. It's standard, right? That's what I'm happy about because I feel like there's more of an even playing field. I know people are going to start saying, oh, Mike, you're making excuses. I'm really not, right? I'm not making excuses for the SEA teams and their performance at the major. All I'm saying is when there's a crowd finally fucking backing you as an SEA team, I think it's going to make things very different.
Oh, yes.
Right? And I'm not saying they're just going to go guaranteed win, go on a massive, TI run and win just because there's an SEA crowd, but all I'm saying is the playing field just feels more even now because I do feel that the fans in Singapore are just naturally going to be less biased for who they cheer for. Yeah. I imagine they will be a lot louder when it comes to SEA teams, but OG also have a crazy amount of fans in SEA, for example.
And Team Secret.
And Team Secret and Nigma and whoever else. The big teams have crazy amounts of fans in Southeast Asia.
Yes.
So that's what gets me excited is we're not going to have one of these situations where OG crowd is just going to overtake every other, fan group with teams and stuff. And I think that's going to make a big difference coming into this TI. I think this is going to be a much more even TI than we've seen in the past, is what I'm trying to say, Jonathan.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm looking forward to it. I have so many people already, like booking tickets, asking for tips. I'm like, this is exciting. I looking forward to it. I miss Singapore. It's been 4 years since I've been back there. When we first met, I was in Singapore. If you do remember, all the way back, I was a different person. It was a different part of my life, but boy, do I miss it sometimes. So I'm glad to have an excuse to go back to Singapore, to head back. The places they've listed as well are pretty cool. Suntec, again, which is where I watched my first LAN at Suntec, right? The convention center. That's the first place where I had my on-location cast with Geese and with Lon and Duno, all the way there. Right. So I'm looking forward to just being able to go there, even as an audience member. If we're not going to be invited, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Of course, we'd love to be invited, but you never know. It's never a sure thing. So fingers crossed, but here's hoping. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably head down because it's the closest TI to us. It's like this is the only time where TI is not going to be a big financial burn. Going across to the west, it's right here in C. So I guess we'd have to go, Mike. There's no excuses now. We've got to go.
Yeah, I mean, even if we're not if we don't get invited, it's we'll just fucking show up. Screw it. It's close enough. We'll make it work. I found it ironic as well, the amount of complaints that were coming in from the community about it. It's like, well, hold on a goddamn minute. I realized most of the complaints were about the whole 6-day break thing between the playoff starts and finals, and I can appreciate where they're coming from in that sense. But there was also complaints from people saying, how am I going to get to Singapore? It's too expensive from these European countries. And I'm like, well, hold on a goddamn minute. How are we meant to go to Europe all those years? How are we meant to go to NA all those years? I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, you do one SCATI and people are just losing their minds already. I don't know, save up some money like we had to all those times. It's... Yeah. I don't know, dude. One SCATI, they're already upset about, there's a 6-day break and this. Who fucking cares? Get over it. Go to Malaysia for 5 days. You'll be right.
Yeah,
it's not that expensive.
I mean, it's still... I get the point about the 6-day break, because even traveling to Malaysia, you're adding travel costs, you're adding the complication of, say, just having laundry for that entire stay, right? So having to do laundry while as a tourist, that's never a fun prospect, but it's still a good opportunity. I think for a lot of people from the West, you have to look at this as an opportunity to go around Southeast Asia. You don't even have to limit yourself to Malaysia, right? You go to Singapore, you watch that first phase, you go to Thailand, for example, you could go to Vietnam. You could go to the Philippines if you want to catch the beach. There's a lot of options there that you're not limited to just the immediate vicinity. You could go to Indonesia. Bali's good option. Indonesia has a lot of historic sites. There's a lot you could do from Singapore. Singapore is the regional hub. A lot of our connecting flights go through Singapore. A lot of planes go through Singapore, coming in from the west into the east, or even from the east to the west. Like for you, for example, right, from Australia, sometimes your flights go to Singapore into the west, right? So you have a lot you could do. And again, it is a bit backbreaking. The money, I get that financial point. That is a long time. But just think of it as not just spending on TI, but on a vacation as well, right? Because it is a vacation. So you just have to... you really do have to make that financial commitment, but it's not just TI you're getting to. You are getting that Eastern vacation, that far away vacation if you are coming from the West, and you get to experience a lot of different cultures. So I'd say this is actually the most value TI in that sense, right? Because for us, if we were to go to, say, Seattle or something, we'd probably spend even more than the people coming into Singapore, right? Just from the flights into the hotels, into the cost of living locally, pretty damn high. And you're just kind of stuck in that western seaboard of the United States, right? In Seattle. So in comparison, you have much more choices to what to do in your downtime. And you could go cheap. Like Singapore might not be the cheapest. In that 6-day break, as you mentioned, Malaysia is really affordable. Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, they are really, really affordable places to go to for vacation. So I think you've just got to be a little bit creative with that break, but you should have a lot to do.
I think so. And as well as that, John, it's a fucking huge TI, right? 30 teams this time. Yeah. I mean, that's exciting. 30 teams at TI. I wonder, I did have the question, going back to the point of the 6-day thing, I was wondering myself why that ended up happening. I don't think Valve themselves would make that decision to be, because it's obviously going to be it's obviously going to have some backlash, right? If you're Valve, you're going to know 100% if you split up the playoff days by that much time, people are going to get pissed off. And I can appreciate it. But there must be a very good reason. There must be some logistical reason why they just can't.
I will tell you, it's definitely logistics-wise. Number one, there's a lot of teams going to be eliminated early on, so you've got to accommodate that. Number two, we're changing venues from Suntec into the indoor stadium. So
Oh,
logistics
okay.
wise, you will need 6 days to shift your gear, to shift production onto a new location. 6 days is pretty tight to set up a stadium. Right, in terms of maybe you could preset the area, start splitting up the stage and all of that, but just setting up production itself, making sure the lights work, checking all your mics, checking your feed,
Yeah.
your production chain, it's pretty tight. So from that viewpoint, the switch of venues to accommodate these larger and larger crowds is also one big aspect why that 6-day break has to be there. I can tell you from a guy who's done production, you do need that time. You do need that time to test, to make sure everything works. And yeah, because it does make sense to shift, because Suntech is a small, more intimate sort of convention center, right? The stadium's the big arena where everyone's yelling. And I think this is a great compromise in comparison to, past TIs, right? Wildcards were without a crowd, and I think that might be the situation here. But, you get to watch the groups in a smaller environment, and let's face it, the crowds on those days during TI weren't the biggest, right? The seats would be a little bit more empty, so Suntech would be able to accommodate that more intimate crowd, and then you get to the arena for the big games, and that's where the crowd's going to be anyway. So it's, in my view, that split up was great. It's just that, again, 6 days, tough, but from a production standpoint, this does make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure there's some other reasons, but 30 teams, yeah, you probably need to have a bit of time to switch up shit for production. I do agree, John, and I think it's going to be an incredible event, just based off TI10, right? Because TI10 wasn't that well received. We're not, there's no need to sugarcoat it. I think without a crowd, it was already going to be very hard to pull off the magnitude of what TI10 was supposed to be, right? You had no crowd last minute. Again, I don't blame companies like PGO, because they had to go from Stockholm to Romania last minute. It's just a massive headache, right? It's kind of impossible. But it wasn't well received in general by community. I believe there was some workers that weren't happy about it either. It was a rough event, right? So I think the idea for Valve is to kind of make up for it with TI11. They've obviously already set themselves up for success with 30 fucking teams. It's going to be incredible. Incredibly hype is what it's going to be. And as well as that, I think we can also go to the point where if you're in China, which I believe actually got opened up yesterday or today, but if you're in China and you're a Chinese team, you can actually play at TI now. Mind you, you might be playing on ping, but assuming you can't leave the country like they couldn't for the Stockholm Major, you could still play TI on, say, what I think it might be 70, 80 ping, maybe less, depending on where they are. Like if you went to like Guangdong or whatever it's called, like a bit further south, it's probably a bit better. So I mean, worst case scenario, if China gets locked down again for whatever reason, at least you still have the potential of bringing them to TI via the internet and just... Because people, even at the Stockholm Major, people weren't happy that the Chinese teams weren't there. Yeah. I understand, but it's nobody's fucking fault. They're locked down at the moment. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's a toughie, and at least you do have that compromise. I'm sure even from a production standpoint, this isn't the biggest loss, because obviously Perfect World can make something happen on their end, right? So even from a production standpoint, you will still get, proper cameras of them, proper setups, proper... locations for them to play in, and that should still work out. So it's probably the best spot for this year, just because, again, complications with COVID are still there, at least in China. The rest of the world's kind of opening up slowly, and it's just great to have it in sea. I mean, I know a few of the oceanic people are like, bring it to New Zealand, Gabe's here anyway. Good for us, it's in Singapore, because, going to New Zealand's also a bit costly for us here in Southeast Asia. It's not the cheapest flight in the world. I've seen those tickets because I have relatives here. It is not cheap, Mikey. No.
It's not cheap. No. I think the complaints would be a lot more frequent if it was in Oceania, sadly. I think for Oceania anyway, like, just having a fucking tournament there would be enough for us to be happy. We don't necessarily need TI to show up in Australia or New Zealand. Just give us some big tournament, give us a major or something. We'll be happy with it, But yeah, back to the point. I think 30 teams gonna be pretty hype. 6-day break, annoying for some people. For others, they won't really care because a lot of people only go for the finals days anyway. It is what it is. I think Valve's trying to make a really fucking great TI this year. right? And I think they're setting themselves up for success with the amount of teams they're bringing in. And you know what that means, John? If you're bringing in 30 teams, that means there's more games, which means you're bringing in more talent. And one of my fondest memories of any tournaments was when PGL got to host that super major back a few years back. And they just had a billion talent there and a billion teams there, and it was just a free-for-all, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I like those kind of events because it's just, there's unlimited content, you know? Like, you've got so much work, so many workers there that you just have unlimited fucking content. You have unlimited games, it feels like. You have 4 or 5 different streams going on at the same time because there's so many teams. So many storylines, no excuses really either, right? You can't necessarily complain about this group's that much stronger than that group because you have 30 teams.
Yep.
Chances are the teams will be roughly even. And yeah, again, if you're a Chinese team, chances are you can still play, which I'm sure they would, even if it was on 50, 60 ping. It's whatever. We're playing at TI. Who cares?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they'd love the crowd, of course, and the crowd would love to see them, but sometimes compromises would be made better than not being there. Speaking of content, Mike, you know, while we were at Stockholm, it was very scuffed, right? Like, our equipment wasn't up to par. I have some good news. Shopee just came by, and I just got my new wireless lavalier mics.
Wow.
Look at this. I wanted to show this off because it's pretty cool. Look, it's in a little case. I've got 2 microphones there ready to go. I've got the receiver. This is so much better. I saw the sound test. Using this as a lavalier sucks, but using it as a handle mic, it's pretty good.
Perfect.
So
well, that's what we want anyway.
We've got the gear, Mikey. We've got the gear. This only cost me very little money, so this is great. This is
So
look how small it is, right? Compared to my lavalier mic, this is like, it's insane. Like, wow, I like this. I'm just
very nice.
Very happy.
Yeah, it's very nice. I think for people out there wondering, so because some people wouldn't have seen the content we were trying to make at the major, we were doing interviews and stuff and whatever. Like, obviously, some of you would have seen the Scuffed podcast and whatever else. What John and I learned at the major in particular was we were kind of underprepared because we didn't go there with the idea of we're just going to do our jobs and go home, right? We were going to do our jobs and then do more work, but our own content, like third-party stuff. And this is all last minute. So, like, the camera work we had to do with our phones. We didn't have proper microphones ready. For the Scuffed podcast, again, we were using a phone for camera. Plus, we were using... we ended up asking Slacks for his... he had a blue snowball on him. Which, you know, they're not the greatest mics in the world, don't get me wrong, but I was appreciative to Slacks for letting us borrow it. Which I still have, by the way. Slacks is still very annoyed with me about that.
It's with you.
It's with me right now. So yeah, we were heavily underprepared. So what John's trying to say is we're now preparing with new technology to be able to do a better job once we go back to another event. And as you can see, John's already gotten himself started some lovely wireless lavalier mics.
I might buy a different pair because this was super cheap. Apparently the sound quality of this sucks. There's a better one that I didn't see until I bought this. So I might shift. And, you know, I want to tell the story about the laptop. So, you know, we were lugging around my laptop. I have it here. I placed it back because I gave that to my mom to use as a stationary thing, right? So I have this huge-ass laptop, this thick, right around this thick, Mikey, if you remember. Big-ass power brick on my backpack while we're going back and forth to do... content, right? To do the podcast, edit interviews, upload shit. That thing was so heavy. It was like, I remember weighing my bag before I left here, and without the power brick, my bag was like 9 kilos because I had a ton of stuff. You know, so I'm sure when we were going around the convention center, I removed a lot of that stuff, but I had the power brick. It was still around 9 kilos. You know, so I will say I might have a new laptop on hand, Mikey. Maybe a lighter one, so we get to do content easier. Perhaps. Who knows what it will be? Who knows what brand it will be? But perhaps we will have one, Mike. So we are set for next time. When the next time comes. Not if, but when it comes. Hopefully, you know, I'm thinking optimistically here, Mike. When, not if. When.
We'll see. We're reaching out. We're trying to get some stuff done. I think it's one of the beautiful things when you do like your first event. If you do a good enough job, chances are you'll be reinvited to something else. So that's kind of what we're relying on right now. Going back to more other stuff though, John, let's forget about the major for a second.
Okay.
Or did you have more to talk about?
No, I just want to point out someone in chat, Asaka Karin, just pointed out you pulled a John move on Slacks. Seriously, the funny thing is, let me tell the story. In the after party, we Slacks was hanging around. He kept saying, "Oh, no point getting the mic now. I'm gonna be leaving anytime soon, right?" He's gone like that, and it's like he stayed there for a full hour. Our hotel was 5 minutes away. We could have gotten him his microphone. Instead, he's like, "Oh, you're just gonna keep it now." I love Slacks.
Yeah, so what he did, ladies and gentlemen, right? We borrowed his blue snowball, and I was trying to find a way to return it to him, but he was always busy. Like, you can never catch this guy. So eventually I saw him at the after show, which is what Cap was hosting at the bar.
Yeah.
And I said to Slacks, "Hey, are you going to the after party? Because our hotel's right nearby. I can run up and get the blue snowball and give it back to you." And he's like, nah, I'm probably not gonna show up. I don't really go to after parties, so you just keep it. It's all good, right? And I'm like, no, I don't want to keep it. I want to return it back. So this guy's had this blue snowball ever since he started in the Dota community, right? Like it's actually like a sentimental thing. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to keep it. I'll give it back to you. Just tell me where you're going to be. And he's like, look, I'm not going to be at the after party, so don't worry about it. We'll figure out a way later on. And then he shows up at the fucking after party, and like John said, he was just terrorizing me the whole night about it. He would walk past and he'd be with Sheepstick or something, and he would just say, "Oh, so I once had this blue snowball, and this evil man took it away from me," and he just keep doing that over and over and over again. And I told him, I go, "Dude, you told me you weren't going to be here. I'll go up right now and go get it." And he just kept saying no. Don't do it. But then he terrorized me 5 minutes later about it, like, "Oh, my poor blue snowball." Even afterwards, I didn't show you the messages, but I messaged him on WhatsApp. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna return this to you one day. Don't worry." And then he just kept going with it. He's like, "Man, I've let 10 different people borrow this mic, and all of them returned it except for one evil man." And he said he full drew me a blue snowball mic with like, it's crying tears and stuff, saying "I miss my daddy." It was ridiculous. This guy's been terrorizing me ever since we left Stockholm for this damn microphone that he told me I could keep anyway. So we're gonna try and get it back to him. Hopefully next time I see him at a LAN. But God knows when that's gonna be. Yeah. Still, John, moving on to other things. Battle Pass. Been a very controversial topic, Jonathan. I saw people talking about it in the chat. I thought we should bring it up. Give us the prediction, Jonathan. When's it coming out? When's Battle Pass?
August, I'd say. August.
August?
Yes. I would say August. I think August makes the most sense. It gives you some content. Wait. Hang on. Major said August. Yeah, I'd say August. Post-major.
No.
I think that makes the most sense. You have August, September, October. 3 months, round around. I mean, if not August, then now. It should be now.
People are already going crazy, John.
True. I don't know. I feel like August is the most sensible, but July. So maybe after the tour, before majors, around July, right? Like second week of July, perhaps. Because it feels weird to. Then again. It's not like Valve really considers that. They could just launch it. But for me, it makes sense to launch it, after DPC stops, after Pro Dota stops for a bit, to give you something to be hyped out about, right? So I think around that time. It's either end of Major in August, or end of DPC tour in July, second week. So around that time.
Yikes.
That's my view.
Look, I don't disagree with you. I just think people are going to lose their fucking minds till this Battle Pass comes out. I mean, people clearly have their money ready to throw at Gaben, but Gaben, he hasn't got the wallet open yet, John. He's not ready. He's preparing, John. He's getting his big bag ready for that cash, and I don't know, dude. I feel like you could release some crazy, huge fucking Battle Pass, like, well, why not just, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this, but I feel like people just really want something different out of the Battle Pass this year. Like, no more of the hot peppers, every 10 levels and crap like that, something different. Like, forget about the Crystal Maiden spinning wheel crap that we never win anything on, no matter how many times we spin the damn thing, or, I feel like people want something different, and they want a big one. and
Yep.
something they can grind, preferably, right?
Yep.
Like something you can actually grind out rather than I've got to fork out the money. I've got to buy a level 100 battle pass straight away, and then I've got to wait for the special to buy 2 bundles to then upgrade it further. And even then, I'm not going to get to the best cosmetic that I can get, which I believe should be a Faces Void Arcana, but God only knows. I don't know. I feel like people are going to lose their minds till then. I personally think, John, that we should have like a mini battle pass every major, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean that was the old system, right? When we had like 3
You
majors
muted
a year.
yourself, Jonathan.
What?
There you go, John.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, it looks like it was just acting up. We used to have that, right? When we had the 3 majors. We used to have the fall pass, the summer pass, the winter pass, right? And summer pass is obviously TI. So I think that kind of system could come back in. I think that should be able to integrate with the TOs as well, and if possible, increase. I don't know about increasing the price pool for the majors, like as TI. No, but what I'm thinking is, just increase the price pool of the majors already to a certain point, and increase the DPC price pool as well. We're just going. This is kind of reeling back towards the DPC already. We're gonna say, shorten the DPC, increase the price pool of the DPC, increase the price pool of majors, and then sustain that with those seasonal passes. I think that could be one way, right? That could be one way without interfering with TI.
That's a good idea. Because then, because DPC money is just nobody likes the amount of money they're winning for DPC for 6 fucking weeks. It's kind of cringe, honestly, how low the amounts are. And then even the majors, it's like, can we not just make it a cool mill? Like, can we not afford that as the Dota community? I feel like we throw a lot of money at these kind of things, right? Like, can we not just make it a mill each major? Like, it just looks better, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. $1 million each major, does that not look a lot better?
Yep.
Yeah,
it does. Looks
I don't
way
know.
better.
Yeah, it's like a mini battle pass. Start of every tour. Money contributes back to like both the major and DPC or some shit. Valve takes their cut, obviously, as they are, and I don't know. Make the majors a mill, like 500k. Just it's not that it's not a good amount of money. It's just 500k for majors. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why do we care?
Yeah,
why do you care?
It just kind of goes back to that point where TI becomes even more important than anything else, right? Like, I mean, the majors are important, but less about the prize pool, more about the points. Talking to all the teams when we were at Stockholm, no one really thought about the prize pool. All of them thought about points. Like, we talked to the Gaming Gladiators guys. The owners were just really happy to make it that far because they have really good points to go to TI. They're not talking about prize pools. It's the points. Yeah. It's still about TI. I think we've got to find a way to give the majors that significance outside of being a stepping stone towards TI again. We've got to add that prestige back, So a prize pool bump would help in that way, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with that, right? Because it really was, now that you brought it up, it really was no team actually cared about the prize pool of the major at all.
All of them talked about points. All of them were about points.
Yeah, specifically, I mean, I don't want to stitch on Boom Esports, but, we may as well talk about it because they were talking to us a lot. They just literally cared about the points. Like, wait a minute, are we still top 8 for TI? Or whatever it is, top 12, top 10, I don't even know anymore. But are we still in the running for TI, or do we need to smash out DPC 2 or 3 and then, place well at the next major? Like, it's kind of weird that it's like that.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares about the money. Like, you could make it $0. They wouldn't even feel the difference. It'd be like, yeah, okay. How many points, though? Do I get the points for TI? It's not good, is it? It's really not that great. Like, it makes TI better.
Yes.
Because it feels like there's more suspense to TI now, because you're just grinding out points for so damn long. But then, if you don't place well at TI, it's like, sorry, I guess you just wasted your year. Your points, you don't get to convert your points to money or anything. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, I think it's just a running thing. The DPC has to continue to evolve, and we'll just see next tour. But yeah, it's like that's the one thing. It is what it is. We'll find out after TI. But I'm still excited for TI, of course. I think we all are. Dude, if we do go to Singapore, my man, I will have a lot of places to take everyone to for food. I think everyone's gonna judge me for my food choice as well, because it's really, like hawker, down to earth hawker stuff. That's not even on like tourist lists. Like Gim Mo is my favorite spot because I live next to it. They have a mean Hainan hometown curry. Oh man, I used to, my love for rice, Mikey, right? Like I love
Yeah.
rice, so I used to order one big bowl of rice. I'd ask for the vegetable curry. I'd ask for a big bowl of regular curry, and I have a chicken cutlet. Oh, I miss that food, Mikey. I miss that food. Oh, and we're gonna
I mean,
have
I
a
look
good
forward
time.
to it.
Oh man.
Then again, though, John, right? Because I know we're meant to go because it's Singapore, right? It's close enough. But I did say a long time ago I would never go to TI unless I'm invited first.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's the
I don't know.
closest
Am I
one,
going to be?
Mikey. It's the closest one.
I know, John, but I'm a man of my word. If I don't earn my invite to TI, I may just not go. Which is kind of, it's pretty stupid to think about.
It
but
is pretty stupid, Mikey. It is pretty stupid.
I'm a bit like that though, Jonathan. I mean, I
You
guess I
are
have
pretty
to go, John.
stupid, Mr. Mikey.
We could still make some content, John. I guess I have to go.
You
I'll
are
just
pretty
have to
dumb.
get invited.
Yeah,
we'll just have to get invited, John.
That's it, Mikey. We just have to do it. No other way. No other way but to get invited. So hopefully we do. Hopefully we do. I think someone in chat earlier was like talking about if we saw the feedback thread. I just want to say thank you for your support, guys, to all of you for enjoying and constantly supporting us from the start. It's been 5 long years to have y'all see us at our first LAN. I'm sure it was great for you. It was great for me and Mike. So thank you so much for supporting us, and yeah, just thanks for having our backs and enjoying what we do, I guess.
Yeah, can I just say as well, now that you've brought this up, we do have some pretty crazy supporters, right? Like the viewers that like listening to us. I remember one of the people at ESL, I'm not going to name names because, even though this is a compliment in my eyes, but one of the people at ESL literally came up to me and said, "Man, you boys have a fucking army behind yous." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like I was confused, right? I'm like, "Oh, is this a bad thing, a good thing?" And he's like, "Man, like every time you guys are casting, there's fucking love hearts and rainbows everywhere. Like everyone just loves it." It's like, it's like you don't see negative comments. And I was like, that was quite eye-opening for me. And it kind of goes back to your point, is we have some very, very supportive people around us, John. So, but, thank you everyone for all your support. We wouldn't have been able to make it without you. Hopefully we can do you proud and keep going for TI 11. But it was kind of eye-opening to hear someone else just kind of say that to us.
Yeah.
Because that person in particular was so fucking impressed.
Yeah.
He was just gobsmacked. He was like, "Man, you boys have a fucking army behind you." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, boss."
Yeah, it's great. And even in the arena, right? Like we were going around, lots of people knew us, right? Like we'd go, they'd ask for pictures, they'd ask for autographs. It was fun. Like that was a neat experience. Like there's this one guy, he just messaged me he just messaged me yesterday and he was like, this was at the after party. You were already gone. I was hanging around till 4 a.m. This guy was waiting for his flight. He asked for a picture, send it over. Social media manager of Team Dogchamp, I believe. So
there you go.
So it's like all these great people. It's just great to meet everyone, and I hope we get to meet everyone again soon. At some point, because it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I was walking around without my shades sometimes, and people would point at me and like, "Where are your shades, man?" And I'd have to pull them out from my pockets. Right here. They would literally yell, "Where are the shades, John?" And so many people would just say, "Hey, John," and John. That's the fun. Man. I could not tell if that was a bit from a lot of people, like Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk, like people like, "You look like Tony Hawk," and he can't tell anymore.
It wasn't a bit.
I couldn't even tell with you. It's like, oh my God.
It wasn't a bit.
They're like, John, right?
I mean, let me tell the story. I was the victim here, John. So for people, the meme John and I go on about, where I always say during our cast, nobody knows who I even am. They only know John's name. That literally happened with everyone. The pro players couldn't remember my name. Like I went up to Zephyr from T1. Zephyr looked at me. I knew he didn't know who I was, right? Because he said, "Hey, John," and then he looked at me and he recognized who I was. But he knew I was part of our duo, right? And I looked at him and I go, "Zephyr, say my name." And he got so like it was like a student being brought to the front of the class to solve the math equation, right? And he was like, "Oh man," he started sweating. He started rubbing his face. He was so embarrassed. Whitemon eventually came in and he said, "You know, it's MLP, you idiot." You know, and it's like, "Oh yes, it's Mike, yes." This literally happened with all the fans, though. Everyone that walked past, they're like, "Hey, John." And then they'd say, "Hey, John," to me. They just keep calling me John. Or they just wouldn't say anything. They just say, "Hey." Like, my name's Mike. It's not that fucking hard.
You know why, Mikey? Because you shaved. Your beard was still thin. People are used to the big beard. Everyone was like, "You look a little bit different without that beard," you know? And I want to give a quick shout out. Natty, thanks for the raid. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you're well. It was great meeting you there. It was great meeting everyone, right? Like, Nat was a great person to hang out with as well. Everyone was. But back to that point about, I want to go back to that story with Whitemon and Zephyr. Hanging out with the players was also really fun. I don't think we mentioned that as well. The players were really easy to get along with. Spent a lot of time with Boom, with Fnatic. We spent a lot of time with their managers, you know, because they'd be outside hang around, so we'd hang around with them. Super fun. I want to tell the story about Fnatic. So, you know, we were hanging out with Pau. It was like 8 a.m. or something. Heading down to breakfast, right? Staying outside. Pau was there with Neil from Fnatic, right? And they're talking, and then the players walk out. Right, so we see Polo walk out, then Armel walk out. You know, Raven and Armel walk out, and they're kind of waddling. I don't know why they walk like this. They literally walk like this. They went out and they yelled to Pau, "Where's the sun?" They asked him, "Sunning out, where's the sun?" While walking out, because Pau told them to get some sun. They waddled out, then they started walking around the parking lot in circles like this, and Pau was like Dumb and Dumber. I was like, what the hell is going on? I love all of them. You know, they're just all the players. You know, you might get intimidated, but you see them, they're lovable idiots. Well, not all of them are idiots, but that's example. You know, they're lovable guys, and I can't get that memory out of my head. Just freaking Armel and Raven just walking like penguins in the sun. Like, what the hell is going on, Pau? What did you do to them? You know, it's like, why?
It was funny. Like, the players really don't like going outside to get sun. They were taunting the poor manager, saying, "Where's the sun? Where's the sun, pal?" Like, Pal's like these damn idiot players that can't take any sunlight.
I remember at one moment, I think Fnatic just finished a match, right, during group stage. They were walking out, we were just standing there, we were saying hi, and Johnwell was walking over to us to give proper highs and have a conversation. We had to tell, go, Sunbee's staring at us. You have to go, because Sunbee's gonna kill us, because you're staying behind. You know? God, I love all the players. They're so fun.
Sunbee's a serious guy.
Oh, he is.
Holy, Sunbee's got that aura. Like, he's gonna hurt you if you don't hurry the hell up. You better get your ass back in that damn room, and we're still boot camping. We're training. And no talking. Yeah.
It's funny because he always has the serious look, but then you have a conversation with him, you realize he's not that way, but he has the most serious look. I'm telling you, right? After party, it was just me and Jabs, and I would look at Sunbee, and he's there talking to someone one-on-one for a very long time, and he does not look happy, even though I'm sure he was. He looked like this is a business negotiation. He was dressed up to the nines too, you know, looking to impress, but he did not look happy. And I talked to him after, "Hey, Sunbee, how'd your night go?" He's like, "It went well." I'm like, and he just has this most stern look. He looks so stern when he said it went well. It's like, well, yeah, you know, you're talking to someone, you know, that you're trying to be close with, and it's like, you look so serious. I don't know. Sunbee's a great guy, but he's a very fun crazy guy. He's crazy. He's crazy.
He's a crazy guy. He's a crazy guy. Anyway, going back to the point though, I think I actually decided I might have to get a shirt that says "My name is Mike" on it for next time. I could just go along with it and just get a shirt that says John. We should both just wear a shirt that says John just to really get on people's what the fuck are these idiots doing? But
no.
I don't know. It caught me off guard. I'm like, oh man, I couldn't believe people actually think my name's John, or they actually don't know. And that goes back to you. You need to be saying my name more during these casts. You were doing it at one stage too.
I do. Mike. I say your name off enough, Mike. Mr. No, Mike Morbius. That's your actual name.
You just said it like the third time during this whole podcast.
Mike Morbius.
That was it.
Morbhead.
Mike Morbius, yes.
I'm a Morbhead.
Well, what's with this fucking Morbius meme as well, by the way. Can we
It's
just talk
great.
about this for a second?
Yeah,
What is this?
I love it. I love it. It's because Morbius came out and Sony started, the first time it came out, Sony marketed it. It's the summer of Morbius. It's the #1 film, and it bombed in the box office. So, Sony's advertising was saying it's the best film, and it bombed, and people made fun of it. Right? People started saying, I'm about to morb. It doesn't help that the movie wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing. I actually did watch it. It's not an amazing film. Lots of product placement. Right. The shots were weird. The pacing was weird. I think it went through production hell for a while. That's why. But there was one scene that really struck me. Right? Matt Smith, the villain, has a Spider-Man 3 moment. You know how Tobey Maguire starts dancing? And for him, it's in character because his evil self thinks that's cool. In this case, the evil dude just randomly starts dancing to a song that goes like, it's a weird song. It just sounds like it's in Russian, but one line says "have sex," then it sounds like I pooped my pants again. I pooped my pants again. Poop my pants. Have sex. It's like, and he's dancing to it. He's vibing, and it's just what the hell's going on? It's generally not a bad film. It's also not particularly good, and it got memed so much that they decided to re-release it in theaters, and it bombed again. It's just, how do you not see it's trending for all the wrong reasons, and you re-release it? Why? Why? And the meme was dying too. The meme was already running its end, and they re-release it. It's just, why?
Too late, boys. Too late. You missed the train. Too bad. The Morbius is never Morbin or whatever the crap it's called.
Morbin time. Stand back, Mike. I'm about to morb. Oh god, yeah, it's great.
Another cultural shock we had back in Sweden, by the way. People are fucking giants over there.
Oh yeah.
Have you noticed that? I mean, I don't think people recognize how tall these people are in Sweden. These guys are literal giants. I was breaking my neck the whole time. I was looking up at the clouds, the ceilings, everything. Like the the height of these people in Sweden, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. What are they feeding them over there, John? Right? I thought I was, I'm like 5'11". I'm not 6 foot, sadly. What can I say, John? I don't think you are either. You're shorter than me, so I'm gonna have to sit you out here, John.
Slightly, yes.
Yeah. You went like 5'11" or something. These guys, they're all 7 foot something. These guys are huge. Like they're just literal Goliath. I thought I was in an episode of Attack on Titan, John. These guys were huge.
They are
just ridiculous. What are they feeding them?
I don't know. I did read before. I actually was very curious as to why. It's apparently dietary from youth, so it really depends on what you're raised up on eating. Apparently, rice is not very conducive for a height, Mike. So there is that. So I think, I don't know. Maybe, you eat potatoes, but I don't know what they eat. Like, they eat potatoes. Maybe it's bread, right? Like, when we were there, everyone I knew in the breakfast buffet, all the locals or Europeans would just immediately go to the bread table. Hygiene be damned. Hold that bread, slice up a couple for themselves, make a huge sandwich. I'm like, all right, that might be the secret, Mike. It's sandwiches from youth. That's it.
I highly doubt it, John. I
ate
a lot of bread in my life, Jonathan. I can tell you it's not the bread. Like, I don't know. They just... That was the thing that just got to me. Is like, you walk into the airport and everyone's just huge. Just massive. None of them are fat. They're all in great shape. All of them. All of them are great. I never saw one fat person in Sweden. I'm telling you, they were all in great shape. And just huge. Just huge.
Absolutely.
They had that great look too. The blonde hair. Nice colored eyes. Just very, very beautiful people, I've got to say, in Sweden.
Yep. I do have to say, that's my first, so that was my first time outside Asia, right? That's my first time outside, where everyone kind of has the same facial features as me. So I felt really unique, because I felt like I was the only Asian around for miles, right? I'd be like, oh, I'm the only guy who looks like this. Excellent. It's like, finally it's different. It's good. It felt good. I did feel short, but it did feel good. It's different. I miss that. That.
And don't take me saying fat personally, but I'm very obese, so don't worry. But you can't see it here, but I'm not a skinny dude, so I think I have the right to use the the fat word. I don't want to say the F word. I was just,
The F
fat
word.
word. It's
The
enough.
F word. Oh,
Yeah. Well, to some people, fat's very offensive, Jonathan. Can't say that.
fair enough.
Can't do that.
Fair enough.
What else caught you off guard, John? Like, well, what else did you? I guess, well, how's your? Do I start some shit here? What did you hate about meeting me, John? Everyone likes to ask, what's the thing you loved about meeting me? What did you hate about it?
I think I already told you. The one thing that surprised me was how often you were on your phone.
Right.
It's just you were on your phone so much, and that just surprised me because we always talk about social media, the modern day stuff. I thought you were an old school guy, pocket that phone,
I am.
just walk around.
No,
Every
but
time
John,
I'd see you, you would be like, ugh, ugh.
no, but hold on a minute, John. I was on my phone because I was doing work for the major. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, but what work though? What were you checking out there?
Social media work.
Social media work.
I was hold on. I got clips from Twitch a lot.
Mhm.
I was looking back at Twitch chat to see the live feedback because we do that. I was looking back at Reddit a lot to see live feedback because again we do that. And I was on Twitter a lot because I was trying to grow socials and a bit of Facebook because again, trying to grow the Facebook as well, but not quite as much as Twitter. Usually I'm not on my phone that often. I can promise you that. Really I'm not. I think if we were meeting, just out of work, you'd be like, all right, he's a normal person that just likes to sit down and have coffee and have a conversation.
Yeah.
I can tell you don't believe me, John.
I'm not convinced by the work part, but yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah. That's the one thing. Just the phone bit. I was just super surprised. Outside of that, hey, I mean, it just feels like we've known each other for 5 years anyway. There's not much to be surprised by, Mikey.
Yeah. It was a bit like that. I even told my wife it didn't feel like there was much of a difference. Like I met John, and it was like, yeah, he looks the same, sounds the same, has the same tendencies I already know about. It's not really. There's nothing. I remember Talon kept asking us like, "Oh, what's the one thing that caught you by surprise?" Like, really, nothing. Nothing really caught me by surprise.
Oh,
He's just.
I guess one thing did catch you by surprise. My snoring, probably. Right?
Yeah, but that's because you told me you didn't snore.
Well,
right?
like I snore,
And-
but I was told that it's not that loud. I don't know, like no one sleeps next to me, so I don't have a reference. Right? I sleep alone in this big bed, Mikey. I'm single. I sleep alone, so I don't really have a reference point. That's just it.
Yeah, well, that was the thing though, because John and I ended up staying in the same hotel room for the second half of the major, and because we weren't working at that point, right? So we just decided to stay for the duration of the major.
Yeah.
And save some money. We got the same hotel room, right? Just different beds. Although the beds were very close. Let's be fair, Jonathan. I mean, we were basically sleeping with each other,
Very intimate.
right? And we were. And the one thing that I asked John before we ended up doing that was, do you snore? Because I cannot stand snoring. I no offense to anyone that snores. I've just had some experiences. I just can't handle snoring, right?
Yes.
And I take a long time to fall asleep. So if you snore, I'm just gonna stay up all night. And long behold, johnxmike snores like a fucking Dyson vacuum cleaner. Hey, some nights you were going great, John. Especially when you get tired. When you had a long day.
Yeah.
It was incredible how loud your snoring got. It was actually incredible. But apart from that, it's pretty good.
Yeah. It's like the funny thing is, your wife gave you advice to deal with that. You didn't do it until like the second to last day. Oh, Mikey.
Yeah. What can you do? It was a good time anyway. Even with the damn snoring, we had a great time. I wonder now what happens. Like, we have DPC 2 or 3 coming up. Are you feeling excited about that, Jonathan?
Yeah, pretty excited. My Talon. Where's my Talon boys are in Div 1, Mikey. So I'm really excited for that. I think we're gonna do great. The top 3 has to watch out because Talon's coming out, and they can shake things up. I'm really excited for that. So yeah, I'm sure of it, Mikey. I'm sure of it. We're gonna go to Arlington, Mikey. Well, mark my words, no bias here. Absolutely no bias here. Yes, Talon's gonna make it to Arlington. I feel, and it should be fun.
There's gonna be
there's some great stories.
some great
as well,
matchups.
Right? Yeah, Talon versus T1, and Talon versus Boom. Those are all great
Yep.
because the history. Boom, less so. Boom is more friendly, but Talon versus T1, that's where the spice kicks in, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, if you want to speak about spice, Jonathan, what about them SMG boys, huh? I mean, what have they
Ooh,
done?
ah,
We didn't talk about this drama yet, huh? The
aha.
SMG boys, what have they done? They really shot
Ah,
themselves in the foot with their
that,
decision making.
that they have, Mikey. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. That's gonna be, yeah, SMG. They have just, let's face it, they've kind of made themselves the villain in this season.
Yeah.
And it's not like, well, to be fair, this is kind of a rep they've sort of had, right?
Yeah.
Like the team with attitude or something like that, right? And they just ride with it. Now I think it's crossed a different level. So I don't know how SMG will do. I hope for their sake they do well, because if they don't, oh boy, the social media is not going to have an easy time there, Mike.
Yeah, look, they were the bad boys, and now they've just gone to. Jeez, I don't want to make references that are historically very bad, John, but they've really gone down to the deep depths, haven't they?
Oh,
Of
yeah.
bad boy.
Oh,
They've
yes.
shout out to Ninja Boogie. I mean, obviously a terrible time for what happened to him, and condolences to I believe his mother, Jonathan, who ended up passing away.
Yes.
Very, very sad stuff. But my God, I mean, if you're SMG, it's a tough time. It's a real tough time right now to. The thing is, like, there's this classic saying of bad publicity is good publicity, right? Like, any publicity is good publicity, but it's really this kind of publicity is only good, in my opinion, if you can win. Because if you're not
Yes.
fucking winning, you're just gonna get shat on constantly by the community.
Yes.
Like, nobody's gonna let you forget.
No. And well, we'll just have to see with SMG, but yeah, it's I mean, Pylai, look, I love him. I think for me this is funny because I think I've told you, right? For me, Pylai is gonna have the same experiences he used to have with E. If things don't change, he's gonna be sitting there, eyes just filled with a 1,000-mile stare, and just wondering why I've done this to myself. I miss that though. I miss that. Remember Pylai and EE and Fnatic, and we'd see it every
Oh, I
time.
do.
Pylai would just look so,
I-
just like, it's just like, fuck. Like, and I feel like SMG will be able to simulate that if they don't change things up. So for their sake, hopefully Pylai doesn't give them that stare, because if they do, they ain't doing something right, Mikey.
No, I can't wait to see it. It's gonna be fun. And I suppose before, I mean, we'll have to. Here's the thing, right? I was actually telling my wife before we may have had to make this a 2-part podcast because there's just too many things to talk about. I guess we'll just have to have another podcast sooner rather than later. But before we do end up heading off, because I am starting to feel that cough coming on, John. I've been holding it back for quite a while. One last thing, which I think was kind of incredible. We didn't really mention it much. While we're in Stockholm, the last podcast we did before Stockholm, we kind of assured people we were going to have a guest on next time.
Yeah.
We went to Stockholm. We said, "Fuck it, we're going to do a scuffed podcast with whatever we have. We're not going to have a guest, but whatever, right?" So we end up going to the computer room per se, the playroom where there's 5-6 PCs set up, and you can go, as talent, you can go play. And I believe there was 2 of these rooms, and one of the rooms was basically for pro players as well. So John and I decided we were going to go into one of these rooms that was empty at the time, take a seat and do this podcast. We start this podcast, and some of you may have seen it already on YouTube. And what was it, like 30, 40 minutes later, of all fucking people, Jerax walks into the room, right? 2-time TI winner Jerax walks into the room, says hello, and this is, again, all on YouTube. You can see it right now on 240p quality. It's incredible.
Yes, absolutely.
Jerax walks in, says, "Hey, you guys are sitting on my PC." So we accidentally sat on the exact PC he was using at the time. So we end up saying, "Oh, well, we'll end up moving our stuff." And he was just gracious enough to come sit with us and actually be a guest on the podcast, even though, again, every piece of quality we had was real bad. But regardless, Jonathan, not only did we keep our promise of having a guest on the podcast, of all fucking people, it ends up randomly being Jerax.
Yep.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah, it was great. Again, it's just everyone is so friendly. Jarex was very gracious to sit with us to have a short conversation. We literally moved the stuff off his PC, his desk, right? We moved his keyboard, moved his mouse. It's like, it's cool. You guys need some more time. Take your time. We were like, nah, Jarex, we'll just take 5. And Boba walked in as well. He wasn't down to talk then,
Boba was there.
but he did come down the next day to have a longer conversations. Everyone's been really kind, and hopefully wherever Jarex ends up, he does well. I'm sure he seems he's a very chill guy, right? He's a very chill guy. Hopefully whatever his next part in his Dota journey goes well for him, because he's a great guy. He is so chill. He's the most zen guy, I think, out of all the guys we've met. Just very in the moment kind of fella, and it's just great to talk to him.
It was, and now that you've brought up Bulba, there's another topic I wanted to talk about. Again, this is why I said we may have had to do a two-parter for this one, but I do want to talk about this before we do end up cutting this off. There's the whole Storm Spirit meme when it came to EG. You and I can't deny it. You and I, we were asking the same question every time. Why the fuck is it always first pick Storm Spirit? Arbed's a very versatile player, SEA prodigy. He can play some other great shit. Why are we playing Storm every game, first pick, and just not giving him a game, right? And I want to come to Bulba's defense for just a moment, Jonathan, because I did speak to an analyst, a very high MMR ex-pro analyst. Again, I'm not going to name names just for the sake of, in case they don't want me to say it. But I asked them, hey, why do you think they keep first picking Storm? And basically the explanation they gave is the hero right now only requires 5 Null Talismans and a BKB, right? Yeah. And then you're going to build it to Aghanim Scepter. So the idea is, because you have Arteezy, who's a very greedy POS 1, and you had Nightfall in the POS 3, who's also extremely greedy, and then you kind of have Crit as well, who's also a very greedy 4.
Yep.
And there was times where you'd see him kind of taking farm priority over people like Arbed. The explanation was the reason why they kept first picking Storm is because with the roster they had, Storm actually works, because to make this hero viable right now in this meta, you only need a BKB and Null Talismans, and then ultra late you'll get an Aghanim Scepter. All up though, the hero's ready to go with like 2k net worth, just with Null Talismans, right? And so the idea was, we don't need Arbed to farm, which creates more space for Nightfall and Arteezy in the side lanes, and that's the idea they were going with. I'm not sure if that's the playstyle that EG wanted to run. I just think with the draft that they have, the roster that they have right now, I think they're kind of in a bit of an awkward situation, because someone's going to shift their playstyle.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be someone apart from Arbed, because if you ask me, John Arbed's the best player in the team. I'm just going to be frank. So, I think if anyone, if I'm providing analysis, I would think Nightfall needs to play less greedy, right?
Yeah, we did see that, but well, just very quickly, I remember we were casting that game up against Beast Coast. He played Mars. There were a lot of spears that didn't connect, Mikey. There were a lot of blinks that didn't make sense. So I'll leave it at that for that part.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? Everyone fucks up and whatever, right? But if that's the idea, and again, this isn't coming from Bulba. This is not out of his mouth. Bulba refused to talk about anything regarding the Storm Spirit. I appreciate that, because he was copying a lot of shit about it. But the explanation I was given by somebody, and I believe multiple people there did agree with that statement, was that because you have 2 very greedy cores in the side lanes, right now with the way the meta is, your POS 3 needs to group up with his supports and go make space. That's usually what happens. The mid might join, and you let your POS 1 farm like crazy. That's the meta. It has been for the last 2-3 years. But if you have a POS 3 that wants to farm, and also scale well into the late game, along with his POS 1, then what the hell is the mid laner meant to do? Well, the mid laner essentially becomes the POS 3, doesn't he?
Yep.
So he's playing position 3 out of the mid lane, and he's going to play with the supports, which is why they kept first picking Storm, because if they didn't first pick Storm, it might have just been an absolute disaster, right? Like, because then you've just got 3 cores farming, and 2 supports just not knowing what to do with themselves.
Yep. That's basically it. So, yeah, I mean, I get why that happens, and we'll dig in we'll dig in more to, what happened with the other players and how it was like talking to Bulba next time. I believe you have that need to cough and get well, Mr. Mike, especially since DP season, well, it's tomorrow for Tour 2, for Div 2, but we are, Div 1's going to be on Wednesday, so hopefully you get well then.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to close out before I close out here, Mikey?
Yeah, I mean, someone did ask, so I can pick Storm and be shit and still win. Yeah, you probably could right now.
I mean, I said again, I won a Storm game from mid, and that's me. I don't play Storm. I don't play mid, so
yeah. Storm is borderline just free MMR right now until the patch comes out. It's just free MMR. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. The unlimited zips with like 2k net worth. What else do you want? What is there anything else to close out? I don't know. I mean, I guess we've already talked about how friendly everyone was, and I guess I'll extend that comment to not only the talent, but pros like Bulba and Jerax who were willing to come and sit with us and talk with us. They were pretty damn cool.
Moon Meander just came into our second podcast, just wanted to say hi.
Moon literally walked in to the second podcast and said, "Hey, I just want to come in and tell you guys I'm a huge fan." And it's like, this is literally Moon Meander, who came second at the major. Mm-hmm. I think he could have won. TSM, I think they were doing a great job. Whatever it is, they're probably going to TI. So great news for them. But it was just a really big shock for us that people that worked in the scene or played Dota at the pro level actually kind of knew who we were.
Yep.
And actually liked our work. It was kind of weird. That was really weird, actually, because that's something I really wasn't expecting. I was expecting most pros to look at us and be like, "Oh, it's those two idiots from SCA that call EU a garbage region every chance they get." It wasn't like that though. It seemed like most people were just happy, which was it was pretty fucking cool, really cool.
Yeah, and hopefully we see all of them next time. But we're gonna call it here. Let Mikey get well. This podcast, I will be uploading this later. I'm gonna upload a Scuffed podcast first, the one that did feature Moon and Bulba and Gary and Bcop and a bunch of other people. So I'll put that up first. That's split into 2 parts. I'm gonna have to splice it, but that's it for now. If you want to check the rest of our podcast, check our socials. It is linked. Well, it's at johnxmike, at MLP Dota. The YouTube's linked in there somewhere. The VODs will be tossed up there with links to Spotify and to YouTube. But thank you again for all of your support. Thank you for helping us get to the major. And thanks for continuously enjoying what we do. I mean, we enjoy it and we're glad you guys enjoy it. And hopefully we'll be able to do even more for you guys, especially on the LAN setting. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But we'll catch you all next time. Thanks for tuning in. It is johnxmike and MLP Dota. Catch you guys next time and take care of yourselves.